Today, I have Etan G, Etan Goldman here today. And I'm so happy that you're here because especially during this time, you are a person that brings so much simcha.
Do I?
Yeah.
You think?
Of course, you do. And so I feel especially honored to have you here. It came right at the right time.
It sure did.
Hi, and welcome to the Dayna Show, where we discuss in English day-to-day life of Israeli citizens, our concerns and aspirations for the country, and everything in between. I'm your host, Dayna Kaplan, and we're so glad that you could join us. Usually when I begin the podcast, I mention the hostages, and I say that they're always in our hearts, and especially now when we're getting close to the end, and we have 4 chalalim, 4 dead hostages coming back tomorrow, and 6 live ones hopefully on Shabbat. It's a really hard time for all of us, and it's going to take a long time for us to recover from this situation. I hope that everybody that's there comes back safe and that they have an easy recovery. I wanted to say something else to all my viewers because I usually focus more on the video, and there are a lot of people who are listening on Spotify and on Apple Music. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope everyone's doing well on their way to work, cleaning, cooking, whatever you're doing. And thanks so much for listening.
Where did you grow up?
I'm Canadian originally, Toronto.
Hometown of Rush, the greatest rock band in the world.
Yeah.
I got a Rush yarmulke.
Wow.
Yeah, I love Rush. I'm a diehard.
Do you play every instrument?
I play no instruments.
Really?
Yeah. I can play drums, I can play bass, but I would never do it live on stage. My gift is being behind a mic and entertaining and running around. I'm kind of like the David Lee Roth. Just run around and keep the party hopping.
Okay.
That was my job. Rapping, I was good at. Tambourine, shakers, little things just to... I was the dancer, I was the rapper, I was the entertainer. I'm running into the audience, throw your hands
What
in.
kind of dancing do you do?
Now, not so much, but breakdancing, I was the kid.
You were breakdancing?
Oh my God. You should watch the videos of me back in the day. It was amazing. There were no Orthodox guys that did what I did. My whole career is an anomaly. It comes from getting kicked out of all these schools, thinking you have to do a nice Jewish boy job, accountant, lawyer, doctor, teacher, whatever, businessman, and failing at most of them, and succeeding in the one place where everybody said couldn't be. And that's what I did. All the things that I got kicked out of school for, I now get paid to do. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
so had I known sooner, I could have jumped the gun and started younger, but who knew? No. Everybody does their thing to make the world just a little bit better. A person's life just a little bit better. Just have a little more fun, a couple extra smiles during the day. It's rock and roll.
Yeah? Was that always your goal in
I didn't know. Younger, I was the class clown, most definitely. I drew attention to myself intentionally, unintentionally. It was just my personality. And that's what it's always been. Thank God now I'm older and I can bump into friends I've been friends with for decades. And I'll say, was I always a lunatic? Oh yeah. Yeah, you were crazy. It was great. We loved watching it. And I wasn't a mean kid, I'm told. I wasn't a mean kid. I wasn't a destructive kid. I wasn't a violent kid. I was just a shitload of fun.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess now I'm older, so I'm slowing down a little bit, but I'm still a shitload of fun.
What did you dream of being when you were a kid?
There were no dreams. It was living. It was no dreams. I remember when I was little, maybe 6 or 7, I told my dad I wanted to be a football player. And he says, you're never going to be a football player. How are you going to play on Shabbos? And you're little and all this. Okay, I didn't really want to be a football player. I just saw that it was cool. It wasn't a thing. I didn't know. And when I was in college, I didn't know. What are you going to major in? I don't know. Mr. Hand, I don't know. I don't know. I majored in psychology my senior year because they said you got to pick a major or you can't graduate.
Right.
So I figured psychology, if you knew psychology, you knew how people think, you could be better in business. I figured business was the thing to go, entrepreneurial type things. And I majored in psychology. I learned a lot. I learned it's all theories and there's no right answer and there's no, really, you just got to listen to people. That's it. You pick up a few things on how to raise kids. And after all my friends got married and I have no one really to hang out with anymore, I said, all right, I'll make some kids of my own and have my own audience. And all this time it was about entertaining. I saw that I was good at making people laugh. I owned a restaurant for a while. I got a master's degree in education. I thought being a teacher would be the thing. But all the while, underneath of all that, I was having fun in music, running around on stage, whether it was with Schlock Rock, being the Jewish rapper, on tour with other bands, behind the scenes, the drum tech, the bass tech. I taught myself how to do soundboards, the knobs, the faders, all that stuff. This is how my brain worked.
You never went to any school to learn music production?
No. When I moved from Baltimore to LA in 93, 94, I got into a scene in LA which were Orthodox guys that were Carlbachy, that were in the music industry. They were managers, and a lot of bands and musicians came through. Soul Farm, Moshav, Rebbe Soul, all these guys. And I saw that whenever they were doing gigs, they always had terrible sound. Why is it feeding back? All these things drove me bonkers. And they said, we don't have anybody to do it. So I went out, I bought a small little PA system, a Fender Fender Sun, 8 channels, powered, couple speakers, and that was my system. And little by little, I figured it out, and you figure it out. And you ask and you learn, and different people, and how do you like it, the highs, the EQ, everything. And now I have like 5 systems. I still do it. I didn't schlep them here to Israel because of the currency, the electric. But Yehuda Solomon from Moshav, whenever he does gigs on army bases, he might call me and say, Etan, can you run sound? Sure, great. And I'm a lot of fun. I'm a lot of fun to have around. I don't like spaghetti. I don't like messes. There's OCD that kicks in. We don't have to see that wire, and it can be like this. Everything can be just a little bit better.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a quick break to tell you about a new sponsor we have on the Dayna Show. Holy Rollers Painting Company. If you're looking for a painting company that provides American-style service, no mess, great prices, and really easy to deal with, then I recommend Holy Rollers Painting. They painted my house, did an incredible job. I'm so happy with them, and that's why I'm recommending them to you. Contact Dave at Holy Rollers on Facebook. Mention my name, Dayna, and get preferred pricing. Good luck with it. I was so happy. I'm sure you will be too. Now back to our show. I want to talk to you a little bit about your background.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a story.
You have an interesting background.
Yeah.
First of all, if you want to start, you can start.
Well, what do you know?
Okay, so it doesn't matter what I know. The audience might
Understood.
not know anything. But okay, what do I know? I know that you were adopted. I know that your parents were Persian.
Yeah.
Your mother was Jewish. Your father was not.
Right. What was dad? What was the bio dad?
What?
He was Muslim.
He was Muslim.
Yeah.
He was Muslim, okay? And
so a Jew and a Muslim hook up, little something something at a party some night in the late 60s, yeah?
Yeah, but you said in one of the websites that I read, there was no penetration.
That's what she said. That's what she told me. She said...
Do you believe that?
I'll tell you why I believe it.
Okay.
Not because it's anything...
Did you meet your biological mother?
Yeah, many years later.
Okay, so we have a lot
So we have, let's unpack this. Okay. Let's go to the virgin thing, okay? She told me...
Wait, if your mom is a virgin...
Hang on.
Wait, then does that mean that you're Jesus?
Etan Jesus.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
No, there's no interruption. It's good. When I was 13 or 14, I had already gotten kicked out of my yeshiva in Baltimore. I got kicked out of an all-black public school, and I went to what some might call a mental institution. In Baltimore, it's called Shepherd Pratt. Okay. My dad wanted me. There was no real other schools in Baltimore that would take me. I was a very wild kid. And the school called Forbush didn't have room as a day student for someone to come in. So they said, fine, we'll put him in as an inpatient, and he'll live there, and he'll go to the school there. Great. The floor that I was on was 10 to 13-year-old kids. And my dad recently told me that that floor, the reason we sent you there was because the whole floor was adopted kids, and they were doing studies to see how adopted kids react to things. There was no wires or anything like that, but I had a great time. My time there was fantastic. It wasn't traumatic in any way. It was a great world experience. I got to meet people from different backgrounds. I wore my yarmulke because it was not because no one else did. I had my own special kosher meals, so I felt like the king of the world. I have my own meals. It's okay, right?
Was it good food at least?
Yeah, strites, TV dinners,
okay.
Whatever. And so when I would come home for Shabbos, my father would say, Etan, you don't read enough. Fine. Dad, take me to the library. What do you want me to read? He said, whatever you want, whatever floats your boat. Great. The Baltimore County Public Library had a reference section. And in that reference section, at 13 years old, there were all these books on teenage growth and puberties and drugs and all these things. Not scientific, but easy to read on what changes you're going to go through growing up and puberty and the brain and the body and what happens to men and what happens to women. And as a side note, there were these diagrams of profile shots of women, and 13 years old, it was great. But one of the things I learned in this book was that they said that women can get pregnant without penetration, that you can drop a load nearby, on or near the area, the erva, as they say in Israel, right?
Okay.
Somewhere near, and the sperm can live and go in, and a woman can get pregnant that way. And apparently there are many, many instances of it. So it's not scientifically unsound.
Okay.
Okay? Is it common? Probably not. But can it happen? Yes. So believe me, in my life, I was always very careful about that too.
I'm sure.
The angle's got to be a little more. But so when she told me that, you're skeptical. Like, really? And she goes, yeah, I didn't, when I got married, when she got married, it had been the first time she'd ever had sex.
So how did you get to meet your mother?
I had a friend. So before I got kicked out of public school, there were two girls. That one girl was from Cleveland, and another one was a Baltimore girl, and they weren't quite religious yet. And they came to this public school, Falstaff Middle School in Baltimore.
Okay.
And they were Jewish, and I was Jewish, and everybody else was black. And so look at the cute little Jewish boy, and here's Etan G. And we became friends. One of the girls' moms, unbeknownst to me, was she would find adopted kids' parents. She did it. That was a side gig for her. She felt it was important. And down the line, I think she got busted by the FBI. 60 Minutes did a piece on her, all kinds of stuff, because she used unusual or questionable resources to succeed and achieve that goal.
Okay.
Fast forward, that girl and I remained friends to this day. We were in NCSY together, and we were always friends, dancing our whole lives. And she had gotten married. She was living in LA. I had just moved to LA, and she knew of my story, but I went to visit them in Baltimore when they had moved out of LA. Hey, what's going on? It was a Friday afternoon, and she was on the phone with her mom. I said, ooh, let your mom know, remind your mom, see if she wants to do the bio-mom thing. And the mom said, sure, and she was retired. And so I got on the phone with the mom, and she said, tell me what you know. And I told her what I knew. My parents told me at a young age that I was adopted. Tell me what you know. I told her what I knew. And I'm saying by Monday, this is on a Friday, by Monday she said, I think I found her. I'll let you know. Okay? It turns out that the woman she found has the same name, went to the same school, but was not her, but knew her, the bio mom.
Oh, wow.
So a few days passed. She got in touch with the bio mom. Etan, I've spoken with the bio mom. Great. What do I do now? She says, I gave the bio mom your number. If she feels comfortable to reach out to you, she will. And that's it. You wait. all along this process, I kept my parents who raised me apprised of what was going on. My dad, being the dad that he is, make sure you get all the medical information and find out, how long, and I wrote it all down. How long did the father live and the mother and all that stuff. Great, I wrote it all down, whole notepad of paper. My mom was a little less enthusiastic about it, and I reassured her. I said, Mom, you paid your dues with me. I am so aware of it. She just gave birth to me. It's just her vagina I came out of, and that's it. But you paid the dues. You get all the credit for really all the hard work. You have nothing to worry about. And that's in the end how it happened. I'd say maybe a month later, I got a call from the bio mom, and we ended up meeting in LA. Maybe I was 24, 25 at the time. And we've had a relationship since. She's met my parents. She's met my sister. She's met my family. She's met my friends. She has been a part of the life. The catch was she didn't want me to tell either my kids or other people who she was. Because in her world, in the Persian world, the Persian Jewish world, it's a small world, they can still get hung for having a kid out of wedlock. And she's told me the whole story about the bio dad. She's told me who he was. She told me everything that I asked, that I could think of asking, the medical also. I met her, the only person in her world that knows I exist is her sister. And she has 5 or 6 siblings. Only her sister knows, and I've met her sister. And I went to her sister's son's bar mitzvah, and she said, you'll meet the family, you'll meet the mishpucha, but we'll say that you're like a tutor or a teacher or something like that. Great. So I met what would have been my grandmother, and she said, oh, you look familiar. I said, no, I'm just a tutor, just a guy. And I have a picture with the family and the kids and the whole thing. You guys
look alike?
Similar. You could see there's a resemblance. Yeah. So at a young age, I already knew I didn't fit in. I didn't grill her on the not having sex part. I totally get it. She didn't know she was pregnant with me till probably 6 months in. She came from, Tehran in the 60s to America. And she said, look, I didn't know. I thought it was the diet or the jet lag or things like that, and I wasn't showing. I just felt weird. By the 3rd or 4th month, by the 5th, 6th month, I went to get checked out. And they said, yeah, you're not feeling well because you're pregnant. So she said, can I get an abortion? And he said, no, it's already after the period of time to do that. So now she's freaking out, and she was living with these Christian boarders. She's living there for her school. She was a foreign exchange student. She's living there. And so they said, we'll take the baby. And I think maybe a month prior to her giving me up, she felt weird about that. A month prior, someone had told her about this Jewish Family Services. And, maybe a few weeks before, she registered Jewish Family Services. She got to hold me maybe for an hour and a half. From what I hear from women nowadays, they don't even get to hold their kids. They take the kids straight away. She held me. And fast forward now 24, 25 years later, when we first met, she brought with her the cap to the bottle that I used and the bracelet of the thing. And she said that she gave me a hug. She smelled me. Well, you smell just like you did when you were a baby. I said, I don't think so. But there's an energy, Persian and Sephardic, that there's an energy that maybe she senses that someone else might not.
Was it an emotional reunion?
I'm not really an emotional guy. It was completing it was filling a piece. My pizza pie was almost full, but there was a slice missing. Not debilitating. It's still a pie of pizza. But putting her there explained a lot. Now I understand I have a better sense of who I am, where I come from. Why didn't I fit in the white Ashkenazic world of Baltimore, Maryland, the yeshivish world? Because I'm the quintessential case study of nature versus nurture.
Exactly.
So my parents are white, regular white Ashkenazic, YU, straight, normal, pocket protector, dad, doctor, straight. So
Do you feel Ashkenaz? Do you feel Sephardic?
I feel like I'm a Jew.
I understand that, but do you want to connect? Did you ever want to connect to your Sephardic roots?
There are
It's so special. It's like you have a gift.
So there are certain, let's say, customs that
Yeah.
Sephardim do that I do. And I made sure that it's not an affront to my father.
Right.
And anything that might be, I ask him, what do you think? Do you mind?
Really? You think he would be offended if you
No,
took
I don't think he'll
on
be
more of
offended,
a-
but my dad is straight up Ashkenaz. Like the whole thing, very Litvish, the whole thing. But I am more than that. I lean Ashkenaz, but there's Sfard. I know that there's a nature versus nurture. My skin color, my attitude, just everything about me. When I step outside myself, I can look and see, I get it. When I talk Hebrew, I talk like an Ashkenaz. But spiritually, I knew that Judaism had more to offer than what Ashkenaz, and when I say Ashkenaz, it's kind of the white shirts, the yeshivish type of...
Potato kugels.
Yeah, exactly. The Heimish, the New York, Eastern Seaboard,
Yeah.
Judaism had to offer. And that then explained to me where I demand more meaning in what I'm doing Jewish-wise. And I've traveled the world. I've been all over Israel. I've met Jews from every stripe. Very rarely do I find a Jew that doesn't fit into one sort of umbrella, a big umbrella that I haven't somehow experienced. Occasionally, here in Israel, I sometimes bump into somebody, wow, I like that. But for the most part, when it comes to Ashkenaz and Sephardim, it's all more or less the same. So I don't fit in any one thing, and I'm fine with that. I've come to terms as a teenager. We grew up in the same generation. We kind of wore what the peer group that we gravitated to. So I had friends that had Champion sweatshirts. I had guys that wore Alexander Julian sweaters with the Argyle and the whole thing. And I tried some of those, and I did it because, the girls dug it, and it was all about the girls. But it didn't feel natural. It wasn't until much later. And not much later, I had friends that were jocks, so I did the jocks, the whole thing. At some point, I said, let me wear what I want to wear. And I did. Jeans and a T-shirt, sweats and a T-shirt. Almost always it's a Rush T-shirt or a Rock for Israel T-shirt or whatever. But those are my things. So you figure it out. At a certain age, you get to learn who you are.
All right. Tell me, how did you...
That's wild, isn't it?
You have a crazy story.
Crazy. It goes deeper. We don't have enough time to really have fun with it, but I've given you a lot of meat and potatoes
How
here.
do you think your upbringing, what's the word, shaped who you are today?
Here's what I think. If I didn't have the upbringing that I had, I would be in a loony bin. It would not be... Look, I believe in a higher power. I believe in a God, and I believe that in my story, if I look at my story and all the details that I've lived, I can see the hand of God orchestrating all the pieces prior to me being born. That a woman in Persia and going back, the whole thing, and she met this guy, and then they were casual friends, and they hung out a year, whatever. I mean, she told the whole thing. And then I'm born, and I could be aborted. I could go to white Christians, but instead, I get these particular parents who I was in Portland when I was born, and they were in Phoenix. And they happened to be on the list of adoption parents for Jewish Family Services. And when they get a call, if you want a Jewish rapper, they said yes, and they come up and they take me, and I am now raised by them. And I recognize that the dues that they paid to raise me, they come from YU. They're very straight, very much, and they get me. And by 3 years old, 4 years old, it's kind of like, what did we do? I can see that because I had boundless energy. And by 7th grade, 8th grade, my grades were fine, but it was a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And it was more, I'm sure, than what they bargained for. My sister, who was born naturally just a few years later, From first grade to graduating early in 11th grade, she went to Beis Yaakov of Baltimore,
Oh, wow.
Stern, Israel, Michlala, very straight. Got married
I also
early.
went to Michlala
What year?
in 91.
Nava Goldman,
I think I know her.
my sister.
Wow.
Here we go.
Oh my God. I think we're related.
Could
I
be.
think if we dig deep enough, I think you and I are related.
It's very possible.
We keep
That's
getting
my
closer
sister.
and closer.
That would have been 91, the Gulf War.
Yes.
You were the Gulf War?
Yes.
Yeah, my sister was in Michlala that year. I came here for the Gulf War. I was in YU. They had a $50 flight from New York
Remember?
to here. I took that. Boy, I had the best time here.
Yeah.
Whenever Israel has had...
With those gas masks?
Yeah.
Those huge gas masks?
I went to Neve. After the first day of being in the gas rooms, the special rooms, me and the guys knew that we got to make this a party. We had kegs of beer. We're on the roof watching missiles go by.
We got to make this a party.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's saying that now.
Yeah, I came here many times when this war started for the sole purpose of just making it a party, because I know that the people in general are going to make it just devastating, that emotionally it's going to debilitate and destroy people. And maybe if I come, we can have a few laughs. And that'll just take the edge off a little bit. Instead of drowning your sorrows in booze or drugs or whatever, spend a little time with Etan G. Let's have a little fun. That's it. Some laughs, some smiles, good times.
Oh, good.
You know what I mean? And I came. And whatever I could do to help, I did. I brought stuff, and I met people. I met new people, and we were all in it together. And the same thing with the Gulf War. We're all in it together. And there's going to be a lot of shit and hostages now and the brutality of it all and fuck them and the whole thing. But historically, we survive. Just as the Lord has promised. It's not going to be easy, but we do. And as long as we stay unified, and I think we've come a long way since October 6th, that we're doing a lot better, that I see more people from truly diverse that would never associate with anything. And I go to these events and I go to the things, I'm out and about, and I see all different kinds coming together. A lot of love. Nobody cares. People care so much less about what you look like. And I found in Israel it's very compartmentalized. I live now in Ramat Beit Shemesh. Not by choice, but... RBS. What? Yeah, it's so Haredi. So what do I care? It's Jews. I don't care. I do my work in my apartment. I'm out and about and shopping, and they're there, and I can talk to them. Nobody cares. Who cares? Who cares? You could put me in Tel Aviv with non-Haredi, and I'll get along fine, too. You could drop me in Meir Sharim, and I'll make it work.
Are you religious?
I'm observant, sure. Shomer Shabbos. I'm a Jew. And what's religious? Everybody's got their own...
I meant Shomer Shabbat.
Yeah, Shabbos, of course. Why would I give up Shabbos? It's the best.
I know.
Yeah. Someone that doesn't do it, fine. That's I'm sure they do something better than I do in some other area.
Do you know that last week, like I was super religious, super Shomer Shabbat and everything, especially when I was married. And then I've really took a dive, and I stopped doing most things, except for kosher. I always kept kosher. And last week was the first Shabbat 2 weeks ago I stopped driving on Shabbat. And last week was the first Shabbat that I turned off my phone the whole Shabbat.
Wow.
And it was the best.
Is it not?
It was the best.
Here's my question to you.
Like, I usually didn't look at my phone, but this time I just turned it off. Like, I completely litnatek from my phone.
Why did you make the choice?
Because it's good because I realize that it helps me. That you're not doing it for God because God told you to. God is telling us to do it because it'll benefit us in some way, and it definitely works. Especially even if it's just like on a peripheral level of not watching the news, not being part of the anxiety. Having a break from that feeds your soul. That's good for you.
When you chose to stop observing, what was the impetus for that?
I stopped because I felt like a lot of the things that I was taught in my youth were things that were thrown upon me that I didn't really understand. And it was all like, if you don't do that, you're going to hell. Ah, yeah. The old East Coast Jewish adage. Exactly. That's right.
You grew up in Ashkenaz world, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes. I had teachers in my school, in elementary school, who were with Streimels.
Yeah.
Okay, like it was like movies is mavis. That was the word.
Nice.
Okay, so I totally decided I'm going to disregard all that stuff, and I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to build my life and decide what works for me. You know. And that's what I've been doing. It's been
So
a
now
process.
you feel like you've started doing a little bit of Shabbos of your own free will and accord.
Yeah.
Versus,
Well, look, I've always had Shabbat. Like I always make Aruchat Shabbat. My kids come over. They live up until recently. They've lived here, but I always have an Avira of Shabbat. Always. I go to my brother who's religious or whatever. Like I know it. I'm familiar with it.
it's easy here in Israel.
Yeah, but now it's just my choice.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole different ball game.
Right. So I've met many people that have gone through similar to you, and they say, Etan, how did you go to a mental institution and still keep Shabbos? And how do you go on the tour with bands and keep Shabbos and kosher and all that? I think for me, it was, I got similar to what you got, but because I was such a lunatic, I just didn't care. I didn't care. I liked Shabbos because it was time that I could hang out with my friends. I could, girls, of course, great time to spend time and talk all night and do jigsaw puzzles together, and girls, you know, it was great. Growing up, for me, Shabbos in my parents' house was a normal Ashkenazic Shabbos. But when I left this, this hospital, this school, they said, Etan needs to find some kind of structure that he can be a part of. And in Baltimore was NCSY and Rabbi Lowenbrown. Rabbi Lowenbrown was a guy who wore Streimel, Chassid, the whole thing. And his whole mantra was music and positive and no judgment and let's all sing and have a good time. And that's what it was. And every Shabbos for me, from age of 13, 14 till 19, easily, was magic. It was magic. Shabbatones was, in our region specifically, was absolute lunacy. The band would play until a minute before Shabbos. The band would start a minute after Shabbos. And it was constant dancing, music. I posted, when he passed away some years ago, I had all the videos of every Shabbaton digitized. I digitized them all, and I uploaded them, not to my Jewish rapper YouTube channel, but my Etan G Roman numeral 2 channel, which is all just personal Shabbaton. And you can see the magic, the energy that he allowed for lunacy. And it was the perfect place for me to unleash my energy. Because I would run up on stage, and Lenny Solomon, what became Schlock Rock, was the house band. Every Shabbaton was those guys, and the music, and for hours we would dance, and I would run up on stage, and rap was starting to come, and I was the kid that breakdanced before breakdancing really was a thing in Baltimore. It was in New York, but it wasn't in Baltimore yet big, and rap music and my boombox, and I'm breakdancing in synagogue lobbies, and again, the girls loved it. I'll do it. Great. And I'll tell you what the girls in the circle didn't love. They didn't love cigarettes. So I remember one time I wanted to have a cigarette hanging out with the girls. Because it's disgusting. You can't hang out with us if you do it. Okay, the last time I really had a cigarette. That was it. If the girls don't dig it, I'm not in it.
Okay, that's right? Going a little too far.
Well, look, later in life, I dabbled a little bit, but it wasn't...
No, not about cigarettes, but, you know, I guess whatever, a kid...
I wanted to hang out with girls. I loved the attention of girls. My guy friends loved me. I was getting popular very quickly.
Did you have a lot of girlfriends?
No. I had a lot of friends who were girls, right? Because that implies commitment.
Right.
I didn't want to commit to one. I got a whole room, you know?
What, all the groupies?
Not groupies, but friends. Good friends. And in our region, and in Baltimore in particular, it wasn't really a hookup scene. It was just good kids from diverse backgrounds. You had public school kids and Beis Yaakov and TA kids that came together to sing and dance and laugh and play music and just hang out together. Movies were not verboten. We knew that they were rebellion. Oh, you can't, it's a Bittul Torah and whatever. We were enough of a posse that we could hang out on a Saturday night. We can go to a movie. But things were delayed. In New York, in LA, things were much more accelerated, where pop culture dominated. With us, it kind of trickled in and we could assimilate it a little bit more, but really we didn't step out of our what would be under the rubric of Orthodox Judaism. You know what I mean? Nobody really didn't keep Shabbos. Everybody kept Shabbos.
Was this already when you were in California?
No, California, I was on my own. I was 23. I just graduated college. My parents moved from Baltimore to Houston, and there was no way I was going to Houston. I'd already spent probably 6 or 7 years back and forth from Israel, so my experience with Jews was much more than what the East Coast had to offer.
And your parents never wanted to come here, to move here?
We're working on it.
Okay.
They're in their 80s now, and it's my grandmother on my father's side and grandfather is Palestinian, and they went to America. My grandfather was a butcher, a shochet, in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where my father was born. So I think my dad had a little bug up his ass because there was family broigus going back to his grandparents about things that the family they owned in Israel and it got sold and the divisions and and my grandmother when she left Palestine and came to America, she had some bug up her ass about Israel.
When you say Palestine, you mean Israel, right?
No, I mean Palestine. This was the 30s and 40s.
That Israel was called Palestine.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It was just a name. It's like New York was called New Amsterdam.
Yeah.
You know, so if I had a grandparent that lived in New Amsterdam, I would address it as New Amsterdam. But my grandparents were from Palestine. I have pictures of my aunts in Palestine. It's Palestine. Palestine Post. That's what it was. So, and they came to America. And then, so my dad's connection to Israel, he was very big Zionist. He took me and my sister and me and my sister to Israel. Back in the 70s, 77, 78, I met my aunts, my uncles. We stayed at the King's Hotel right across from the plaza. And that to me it was great. It was a desert. We went to Beersheba to visit cousins, and I had a connection to Israel. And then I came back to Israel.
You remember that visit?
I do. It was I remember in the park, in the backyard of my cousins, who I'm still in touch with, they had a concrete snake. They called it the Nachash. And there was a snake, and I remember at the end of the snake, where it ended, there was poop, like dog poop. And when you're 7, 8 years old, that's awesome. Wow, look, someone pooped here. It's a dog, wow. So you get a stick, and you're poking at it. What's going on? I remember it very vividly. But I remember Beersheba, and I had one of those tourist hats, the four-pointed, you know. I was a cute kid, and it was great. And the shuk and the kotel and all that. That was my first. My second trip to Israel was when I was 16 on a summer trip with NCSY. And they paired my group of friends from Baltimore, Atlantic Seaboard region, with New Jersey region. And I mean, you're mixing two different breeds of people.
Oh, yeah.
We were lunatics, and we were having the best time in New Jersey. We got to follow the rules, and it says, all right, you do you. We're going to have a good time. And we did. I'm still friends with many of the guys. It was just great. And then I didn't come back here till 16, 17, when I got kicked out of my yeshiva once again. I came here for a month. That was great. 18, Neve, 19. Yeah.
Tell me about Etan G. How did he start?
Etan G.
He started at birth, but how did he?
Yeah, it's
get popular.
After I graduated college, I had already performed with Shlock Rock many times on stage at these Shabbatons, unprofessionally. But at some point, maybe 91, 92, Lenny asked me to come. There was a show that Shlock Rock had at the Baltimore Arena, 15,000 seater. I don't know, maybe it's a 20,000 seater, whatever it was. And Lenny was doing a concert there, a Shlock Rock concert for the Maccabi games, the Maccabi. And maybe it was 14, 15,000 people in the stadium. And Lenny couldn't do the show. I think he had another gig or something. So he had the Shlock Rock guys do it and me come up and do 3 rap songs. And my first time on stage professionally was in front of 14, 15,000 people. And that is a drug that is very hard to break.
Really?
Yeah. And I was good.
What does it feel like? Tell me.
It's very hard to describe. I'll tell you what I thought it was supposed to feel like. When I got to the gig, the Baltimore Arena was a venue where I had seen AC/DC and Queensryche and Rush and just huge rock bands. And this gig, I brought a little bottle of booze. I said, guys, we got to have L'Chaim's. It's amazing. And none of the guys really drank. And so it was something that I thought would be cool. And Dave Van Halen, we got to have it. And it wasn't that. So I'm not drinking alone. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's lame. 19, 20 years old, lame. And so put the booze away, didn't need it. And I got on stage. And yeah, we like to call up Etan G. Great. And I got on, I did Wash This Way, did Yo-Yo Yarmulke, and maybe Be Good, Be Cool, Be Jewish. I don't remember. If anybody has video of that show, I'd love to have it. It'd be insane. But that was my first professional gig. The bug was there. It wasn't until many years later that I would start doing shows with Lenny. But prior to that, Lenny had me come into the studio and record the song Be Good, Be Cool, Be Jewish. And so in the beginning of it, Etan, I want another beat, something I can learn from. It was dialogue, it wasn't rapping. And that was the first time in a recording studio, and that felt right. That felt so right. For me, a recording studio it's so organized and meticulous, and the wires are exactly where they should be, and the knobs are organized in columns, and everything has its purpose. And you go to a professional studio. When later years, when I would go to award shows or concerts, legit, and I'd be backstage, you saw the road cases, and they'd have a line of cables and things on top of it, and everything had its place, nothing strewn or strayed anywhere. And so that was all while I was in college, those two things, the Be Good, Be Cool, Be Jewish studio and that live show. When I moved from Baltimore to LA, I was now starting to get into music, unknowingly that it would be a career. I was working as a waiter, I started a restaurant, all these things that I was in the mentality of having a nice, normal Jewish boy job. Lenny Solomon from Schlock Rock had me come on a tour with him. It was Vegas, it was Dallas, it was one other, San Antonio. We spent Shabbos in San Antonio. And I have video of it, and I loved it. He would call me up. He flew me out just to come on for a few songs. And I can watch those videos, and I can see the insanity in my blood, jumping off speakers and flips and head and rocking the audience. And I'm watching myself saying, God, I'd come see that guy. It was insane. I was 23, in my prime. Not even my prime. My prime wasn't until later. But unleashed. And that felt great. Being on tour, a different city, a hotel, a different place. A couple years later, 95, the guys in the band started getting married and having kids and normal lives. They're not performing anymore. But Schlock Rock must go on. So Lenny would call me and say, look, come on the road with me and we'll get musicians in different cities to come play with us. And that's what happened. It was me and Lenny, city to city, all over the country, all over the world. We would get musicians wherever we were. Because I already knew sound, I was the guy to set up sound. When Lenny would set up the PA system on stages, there'd be wires everywhere. It wasn't a thing that his brain could care about. Right. For me, it drove me nuts. If I'm on stage, the wires should be in a nice line and connected. You don't need to see it. You can hide it. There's a million ways of doing things. And I took great pains. Also, I was a great packer. If you give me a lot of stuff to fit in a small place, I can make it all fit. And so we'd have a whole PA system. We have to fit it in the trunk of a minivan. And I knew how to stack everything up with my luggage, and there's still room to see out the back. Amazing.
Do you have OCD about other things, or just?
I don't know if it's clinical OCD, but I'll give you an example. If I go to a shiur, a rabbi's given a thing, I am more likely to pay attention to the guy that's clean cut, that's put together, versus the guy that just has a scraggly beard and dandruff on his shoulders and crumbs and the whole, it's not my jam. It's fine. What you're saying, I could do it. When people speak, you hear young people speaking, and we were like basically going like, we were literally, I can't listen to that. It's after a certain point, my brain says, I'm so distracted by your filler that I cannot get the message that you're saying. And so I either get on my phone or I just block. It's very hard. And
Do you have ADHD?
it wasn't a clinical term back then. It was hyperactivity. Maybe.
But you never taken any medication for it?
In 4th grade, they tried to give me Ritalin, and because nobody really knew anything about it, and I was a real smart kid. I'm still a pretty smart guy. 4th grade, I knew that the rules were, look, if you feel that you're going to get wild, please ask me, the Rebbe, to go to the office and get your pill. I said, great. And once I realized, Rebbe, I feel like I'm going to get wild. Okay, go get your pill. Great. And I go, and they'd give me a can of juice, and I'm thirsty, and I wouldn't take the pill. And then I'd be out of class till lunchtime and come back to English class. And I mean, I figured it all out. I liked nature. I would cut class just to go play in the trees, dig and make streams and dams and I grew up, the first 10 years of my life were in, my backyard was a forest. And my mom would say, all right, you can go play in the forest, but come back when I call you or the lights go on or whatever it was. And I'd be in a forest, and there was a stream and trees and rocks and little animals, and I could play by myself for hours. It was great.
I have something I wanted to ask you. I don't remember when this video was taken of you at the Chabad.
Oh, that's a great one.
What were you doing, these telethons?
Yeah, the Chabad telethon was.
But you did a bunch of them, right?
Later, yeah, sure.
So
Sure.
Chabad was the first one that you ever did?
Chabad was the first telethon. It was really the first, let's see, it was 99. My shine was just starting to come up. I was doing a lot of shows. I didn't have any solo material yet. I just had schlock songs that I did, Making the Motzi and Yo-Yo Yarmulke, and someone had asked me if I would consider doing the Chabad telethon.
And where were you living at the time?
LA.
In LA, okay.
Yeah. So the Chabad telethon was maybe 99, something like that. 99, and they asked me, and great. And I went on a Friday to do a rehearsal with the band and just everything. And I got a message Saturday night from one of the producers, and she said, listen, Etan, it's going to be great. We're very excited to have you. And I put it on my album, this message. I saved it. But if you do this or you do that, you'll never get asked on again. Okay, fine. I wasn't planning on doing any of that, but okay.
Do you know what to do this or
I'd
do
have to
that
listen
was?
to the message. If you get a little wild is good, a little energy is good, but if it's too much, whatever it was.
I don't know what the hell happened there, but I don't know why. I don't have no idea why he did that.
To this day, don't know. I've never, in my life, I don't know that I've ever said a word to him prior or post.
Oh, really?
But
I thought you would have a discussion with
Never,
him
not
after.
even.
You just walked off the stage and that was it.
Yeah, but if you notice, my finger changes from this to this on the picture frame.
Yeah, I saw something like
Because
that.
I look behind me and I see the band leader just cracking up, falling over his piano, and I didn't know what happened. When I was looking to the side, I see the rabbi and a congressman coming towards me, and I think they're coming to dance with me because I'd already done enough shows for Chabad that this is what they do. You come and you dance. And that's what I thought. And so I'm moving closer to them so we can start dancing, and it turns out he yanks the mic from me in the middle.
Like, that's enough.
And had he just waited maybe another 30 seconds, I had a whole Chabad, throw your hands in the air. When I say Mashiach, you say now, Mashiach, now, Mashiach. I had a whole thing, and it would have gotten the crowd awesomely excited. And it never got to that point.
How did you feel afterwards? Do you remember?
Yes. Confused. What happened? So when I went back to the dressing room, my dressing room was with Shlomo Katz, Yehuda Glanz, and Mordechai ben David.
Oh, wow.
Okay? And
were they all watching you?
They were all watching on the TV.
Oh my God.
So I walk in and I look at them.
I don't think people know actually what happened.
I don't know.
No, but I don't know if I explained to the audience what we're really
You can watch it
about.
On YouTube. Just type in "kicked off the telethon," the Chabad telethon. Etan G gets kicked off the Chabad telethon.
Yeah, you got a lot of views there.
Yeah. So to this day, so Shlomo and Yehuda were tears running down their eyes, cracking up. And Mordechai was chuckling, and since I couldn't get the attention of the other two because they were laughing so hard, I said to Mordechai, "What happened?" He says, "I don't know, man. It's got to be a tikkun for something." And that's what he said to me. And I called up at the time, my friend Stewie Wax, he was managing all the whole music scene. He goes, Etan, it's the greatest. Everybody's going to remember this. I said, why? He goes, no one remembers any of the performers from any Chabad telethon ever.
Yeah, you made your mark.
But everybody's going to remember getting kicked off the telethon. No one will forget. So roll with it. I don't know what happened, but it's going to be great.
But what's the Jewish music scene like?
When?
What's like, just back then, and we could talk about it's like now. Is it competitive? Is it like
No, maybe a little bit, maybe in certain circles. The Jewish world is a small world. If you watch the Howard Stern thing, Howard says it's a small world right here in Manhattan. That's it. That's the Jewish world. Look, I didn't plan on becoming the Jewish rapper. I didn't even want to use the name Jewish rapper in any. But when I got on the Stern show, Howard gave me the name the Jewish rapper, and it stuck, and my stock shot through the roof. So, all right, you got to keep it. I didn't plan on it. I didn't say, I'm going to be an entertainer. I didn't think that was a thing. But I kept getting hired. And while I was going through my master's degree in education, Lenny was hiring me more and more. I was going on tour with secular bands, secular rock bands as well. I was on tour with a band called Evan and Jaron, if you remember back in the day.
Yes, I do, of course.
Right? Two Jewish guys. And because I knew bass tech, drum tech, I knew how to shoot video. I just had an eye for shooting. I knew how to cook kosher. I had already had and failed in 2 kosher restaurants in Palm Springs, California. And I was energetic. I was a lot of fun to bring on the road, and I was an asset. I made myself useful. I'm like a Swiss Army knife of awesomeness. So when you bring me on the road, we're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
So I met a lot of different bands, and I learned the regular music world from that side, bars and venues and house of blueses and all that. And then there were other bands that would take me, hey, come on, we want you to do sound, or just come, whatever it was. I was in that secular music world, and I was doing the Jewish music world with Lenny. I had my own solo albums as well, and I didn't plan on any of it. I got my master's degree. I started teaching, but simultaneously underneath, I was making much more money and having a hell of a lot more fun than working in schools where it's lesson plans and you need to be here at this time and we have tefillah and you have to follow these rules and principals didn't like me and teachers didn't like me. The only people that liked me were the kids because you are cool as shit.
For sure.
And that's how, and I said, I don't need to be under the thumb. I don't want to be under the thumb of anybody. I can work with people. I can work for people that were really working together. But if you're the dominant on me, I chafe at that. Right? I know how to function. I know how to speak. I know when to hang back. I know how to lunge. You learn this over years of performing, the when and where. When I'm on a show with Lenny, Lenny's the band leader. He's the guy. He's the guy that people came to see. I'm the side man. I'm the Ed McMahon I'm the Paul Schaefer of Schlock Rock. But I do know that I have something to contribute that Lenny can't contribute. And that's why Lenny would bring me, because I filled a gap that, what, people are going to stare at Lenny playing the keys the whole time? No, you need someone to keep the crowd hopping. And that's why Lenny would bring me on these shows. And that's why Lenny made and I contributed to making Schlock Rock awesome. And now that all the music is on social streaming services and Instagram, and kids are starting to make TikTok videos with Schlock Rock songs, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you think it would have been different if we had internet back then?
I would have been a lot different for sure, because I see it wouldn't have worked. Internet for us we would have been different people. The reason we are as resilient as we are is because we had the 70s and the 80s and some of the 90s. The internet has dumbed people down, has made people lazy.
Yeah, you had to work really hard.
Yeah, and I can tell you, even for myself, I should be asleep, but I'm looking at my Twitter feed, or I'm looking at I should be asleep now. I'm driving here, and my kid's on her phone, and I didn't give any of my kids their phones till much later in life, till 17, 16, 17, 18.
That's the way it should be.
And the only reason my kids got their phones was when they came to Israel, because it was mandatory. The school says, oh, they have to have phones. Well, I'm not going to give them an Android, and I'm not going to give them a flip phone. I'm going to give them an iPhone, but I'm going to lock it down. I think it's a double-edged sword. I can tell you for sure, if we had internet back then, I'd have been watching porn my whole life. You never would have seen me. You never would have seen me.
Oh my God,
No, I'm just saying. I'm just being honest. I'm telling you. I would never left the house. Okay? Because
you see now kids have phones and they don't watch porn all day long.
You must be kidding me.
Okay, they do, but because it's so accessible, it's not like they're just sitting there all day
But
long.
now think about all the magic that's lost by watching all that pornography with a relationship with a woman or a man.
Of course.
Okay, so I was able to, my relationships with the guys and the girls that I knew growing up are so amazing because we were not distracted by a device.
Right.
We were able to create memories and riding our bikes. And remember when you popped the wheelie and you hit the curb, that we were aware and we paid attention to our surroundings and what was there. My kids will never, no. My kids have gotten a taste of that, but because of the generation they live in, they will not get the full effect, which the truth is, I don't expect them to get the full effect. I didn't get the full effect of the generation my parents grew up in,
right,
where you would go on a plane with a suit, right? Where the music you listened to was true orchestration, big band and swing and Sinatra and all that. My father,
which still has a lot of value,
100%. But it's not the it's not the mainstream music of the times.
Right.
My father, his whole life to this day, only listened to classical music, classical and operas. That's what I grew up hearing in the background. I gravitated to rock and roll, Jewish rock and roll, diaspora yeshiva band, musicians. I love music that had balls. Something, well, this got balls. Look at that. That's what I want. And that's what Diaspora Yeshiva Band was. It's what Kesher became. And from Kesher became Schlock Rock. This music has balls. And I was exposed, in Baltimore, it was either long-haired rock and roll, Kiss, Bad Company, Van Halen, or R&B. Al Green, Marvin Gaye, Jeffrey Osborne, Ray Parker Jr., all R&B. Those were the two main. And then I got a taste of jazz and blues along the way. It probably wasn't until I was older that I really started appreciating it. In New York, there was a club called Smalls.
I think I've heard of
Jazz club in the Village, great. You have the Blue Note. And I would not necessarily cut class, although it didn't bother me if I did, to go down to these places and just see music. And I didn't wait for anybody. I didn't have this hang up where, oh, you want to come with me? I can't go by myself. I'll go perfectly fine by myself. And I'm going to have a great time. And then that leaves the door open to meet other people and other musicians. So those years in New York were amazing.
When did you get married?
I got married in September of 2002 here in Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is your wife Israeli?
Not at all. She doesn't know an olive from a bays.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I went up completely off the reservation. I also got married very late. I got married at 33.
Everything is relative. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
And,
Where'd you meet her?
I met her.
Don't tell me at a concert.
No. I met her through the secretary of one of my recording studios. Okay. I was on a tour, and I remember this. It was December 2001. And Lenny and I were on a tour, Schlock Rock. It was 3 weeks of nonstop shows. Nonstop. 2 shows a day. We got to drive here, And any girls that I wanted to visit in any city, there was no time. It was just come to the show. It's great seeing you. Great. Move on to the Etan. We got to go. Great. 3 weeks of being on the road like this, and I came back to LA on fire. I was all heated up. And so I called many of the lovelies that I was in relationships with in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Are we honest and real?
Let's go.
I'm just telling you.
I would prefer you to be honest.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
And everyone within that 3 week period ended up.
How many were there?
I don't know.
More than 10, less than 20?
No, at that time, no, I wasn't that I'm a okay looking guy. I'm not that. I mean, it's
Who knows?
LA.
You're
People are figuring.
charismatic, you know.
Maybe. I think back then I was also cocky.
Okay.
And so that might have been a turn
You're a
off or
big
something.
star.
But in certain circles. In the circles that I was rolling in, not so
Big
much.
fish, small pond.
Yeah, in the Jewish world, but then there was the secular, outside of that. So my status in the Jewish world was not really the status in the secular world, especially in LA, where you can, hang out with any celebrity you want. So I was going through a dry spell, and in a short time, all these girls that I was spending time with were off doing other things. She's dating somebody. She moved up to Seattle. She's doing this. She's not interested anymore because she wants to be normal again. And there was one who's the recording secretary at this recording studio. And unbeknownst to me, she was into big black guys, which I didn't fit, but I didn't know. So she said,
You
Etan,
didn't fit?
I didn't know that she was into big black guys.
I'm kidding.
And I didn't know that either. But not for lack of trying. So she said, listen, Etan, I love you. You're a great friend, but I'm not into you like that. But I have one friend who has the same sense of humor as you, and she's Jewish. What? Okay. Get her on the phone, stat. So we conference call her in. That was on a Thursday. We met on a Sunday. She's totally not religious. Maybe she had a Jewish star around her neck. Knew nothing. And we went out that Sunday. I think by that Shabbos, she came with me to a Shabbos. Well, you guys do this every week? Yeah. And there's wine and food and the whole thing, and she loved that. And she didn't come from an upbringing like maybe you or I did, where things are more or less stable in the family. I mean, she's got a background. And I think 8 months later, during that time, she started getting a little more religious, more and more and more. And by the 8th month, we got engaged. A month later, we got married here in Israel. Why Israel? Because I was going on tour in January and February. And, at that age, you kind of already know. And we figured it out that the schedule, why don't we get married in Israel right before Sukkot? I'll have many friends that are in Israel. And at that time, I had a newsletter that went out to everybody to just here are my tour dates and here's this. And I just said, hey, I'm getting married on this date, at this time, at this place. If you're in Israel, come on down.
Wow.
That was it. Maybe 110, 120 people came. And we had a great time. You asked Joel Haber, you asked Jody Goldman about Wax Press. These are all people, they were all at my wedding. It was epic. It was epic. I wore this tux. It was like, John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever. The pants ripped in the middle. I happened to be wearing a bathing suit underneath because I thought it might happen. So we yanked the pants off, and now I'm dancing in a bathing suit. It was great. At the Tayelet in Talpiot there. Beautiful view. Friend hooked it up. Simple. I took care of the band and the sound and all. I took care of everything. She'd never been to Israel. What does she know? Say, just follow me. It'll be great. That's what I tell people. Just stick with me. We'll have a great time. And it's just, there we are.
And you've been making music ever since.
One way or another, yes. Yeah.
How did she take on becoming religious?
It dropped. 6 months in, she had to drop it. It was too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. I've seen it, Baal Teshuvas many times. If you take on too much too fast, it's going to fizzle and burn. But I spoke to somebody who said communication is very important with people in general, men and women in particular, especially in relations. So she thought that I wanted a kind of stern girl. I had a list. I'm a big list guy. Things that I want in a woman, right? And I wrote them all down. I still have the list. It's great. And she met, I don't know, maybe 80% of them. And there's some that, you're never going to get everything. What can you have give and take on? Great. So one of them was cool but Jewish, cool but Orthodox. Like what I thought stern girls were back then. I didn't know that stern girls are fine. They didn't have much personality like now looking back, I can see why none of that would have ever worked. They could never put up with my insanity. They could never. So she thought that that's what I wanted, and she met people that kind of fit that bill, and she thought she had to be like that for me. And I didn't know that that's what she was thinking, nor did I ever say that. But that was her thing. So she took on a lot. very quickly. I would say 6 months in, there was a discussion, there was a separation, and I spoke to somebody who said very astutely, he says, Etan, you're not the normal. You're not that run-of-the-mill, and neither is she. In halacha, if, really, all she would need to do, if you can go for this, is keep Shabbos in the house, keep kosher in the house, and keep Taharas Mishpacha. After that, she could do whatever she wants. Really, halacha, then it's on her. It's not affecting you or the home or anything like that. And I told her that, and you could see the weight fall off of her. And shortly thereafter, she came back, and we got pregnant, kids, so on. She knew, at that age, again, 30, 31, 32, 33, you know yourself pretty well. If you're honest with yourself, you know what you're good at and what you're not good at.
Yeah.
And she knew she would be a good parent, but a better, but I would be better, particularly when it comes to the Jewish education. She loved Orthodox Judaism and wanted the kids to be raised Orthodox, but she herself could not facilitate that as a mom. She herself wanted to work she had a job, a great job. She's still at, 20 plus years later, she's still at, loves it, and she's been there, and that's her jam. So she became the main breadwinner role, and I became the father. And for me, being a father is the bomb, because that's what I was built for. I knew families. I needed an audience. I take my kids, grab their head, fart on them.
How many kids do you have?
4.
Can I know her?
4. 3 girls, 1 boy, and I farted on all of them equally.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Mazel tov. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Road tripping. I took them on road trips and traveling, on tours, everything like that, because that's what I was built for. And Torah and Jewish education, and I was able to introduce them to all different kinds of Jews, all different kinds. They've hung out with Haredim, with Streimels and the whole thing. They've hung out with completely secular. And I say, look, this is what they do, this is what they do, and we do what we do. None of them conflict. That's what they do. And that's what they've been raised on. And they're fairly cool kids, for the most part, not as cool as me. And I've told my kids, your job is not to be as cool as me. Your job is not to be liked as much as me. Your job is to be you. Find you and be you.
Yeah, but it's probably hard for them to have such a, what's the word, dynamic father, you know?
Maybe. I think they're each dynamic in their own right. And I think because you take the pressure off, I took the pressure off of them to try and fit in. Say, you're from an unusual family, okay? Enjoy it. If you want to be like everybody else, 100%. It should be your own choice.
For sure.
It shouldn't be a pressure that you feel has to be done at a young age, And that was a lot that I learned from Rabbi Lowenbraun back in the day. He never put pressure on us in NCSY that we had. Never, if you go to a movie, you're going to hell. We went to movies with him. I saw the movie, The Three Amigos with him. And 2 of my best friends, we went to see it. He was not opposed to that. Torah was always the foundation. And he never said, oh, if you touch a girl, you're going to hell. And if you go to a movie, you're going. It never occurred. So I felt no pressure to keep Shabbos, other than, it would be weird to hang out with all my friends and not keep Shabbos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And eventually you learn and see the benefit of Shabbos, whether it's socially, whether it's religiously, whether it's just the ability to unwind. Shabbos has immense mental and physical benefits. And the ability to socialize with no pressure and no phones is great. That's why Kiddush clubs are a big thing.
Yeah.
You go to shul, you daven, and in different shuls. I've gone to shuls here in Israel. I have no problem staying anywhere in Israel. Shabbos, where do you spend Shabbos? Ramat Beit Shemesh? No. From the river to the sea is where you'll find Etan G. And I will go to people's houses anywhere in the country that will have me, and I have no problem with it. And any shul nearby, look, I have friends, they don't wake up till 9, 10, 11 on a Shabbos day, or they don't go to shul, they want to daven by themselves. No problem. I'll go, walk around, I'll find a shul. It's Israel. There's a shul everywhere.
You try to daven with a minyan?
Yeah.
Okay.
On Shabbos, for sure.
Yeah.
During the week, hit or miss.
Okay.
I've been to Moroccan shuls, Tunisian shuls, Hamish, Ashkenaz, Sephardic, Persian, everything. I love them all. And I love new shuls. I've gone to shuls where no one is wearing a suit. It's just jeans and a t-shirt, and they're passing out arak in the shul during davening.
Of course.
And here's some nuts and this and while they're davening. It's fantastic.
What nusach do you pray?
I lean Ashkenaz. I pray the nusach of whatever the minyan is doing. Whatever. Where do you daven? I daven where there's 10 men. I don't care. You give me any 10 men from any walk of life, Jews, I'm in. I don't have those boundaries. I don't have those judgments. I'm not a judgy kind of guy. I'm an observer. I'll call anybody out. My kids, oh, Dad, you're so judgy. You're so judgmental. Excuse me. There was no judgment. I was making an observation. That guy is really fat. It's so mean. No. It's an observation. He's a great guy. I'm sure he's a great guy.
Same thing with my kids.
But it's an observation.
Yeah.
Right? He could probably clean the dandruff off his shoulder. You're so judgy. Not judgment. The judgment, the observation is just that. There's no end game. The judgment would be because he's fat or because he has the dandruff, they're a bad person or they're lazy or whatever quantification I make to that observation, that's a judgment. And I try to explain. When you go to court, a lawyer presents facts. These are the observations. This is what the witness saw. They're presenting observations. Great. There's no judgment on those observations. The judge says you're guilty or innocent based on the thing. I'm not judging. The Lord is my judge. He'll judge.
Yeah.
Not me.
Do you have connections still with the music industry?
Absolutely.
In Chutz La'aretz?
Yeah. So I started in 2018 a nonprofit. You know Avi Lieberman?
Yes.
Comedy for Kobe?
Yes, of course.
I always loved the idea of bringing people to Israel. And
I want to try to get him on the show.
Avi?
Yeah.
He'll be in Israel very soon.
Yeah. The only thing is that I really want to have him on, but my show is about people who are living in Israel. You know?
He's Israeli.
Okay, good enough. Good enough. The reason I asked you, though, about your connection to the music industry, because I want to ask you how you think it's changed since the war. Because
in the Jewish music industry.
Yes, the Jewish music, because
you're not talking rock and roll, secular?
No.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
get to that afterwards, because I want to talk to you about Rock for Israel. I wanted to ask you about what the change has been since the war, or if there is one.
In the Jewish music world?
Yeah.
The Jewish music world has changed. A lot of the music, what's changed, you see a lot of musicians, primarily, and I'm going to speak more or less from the Orthodox world. The secular Jewish music world, I know a little less about, I'm not immersed in it, but the Jewish music world, the Shlomo Katzes, the Etan Katzes, the Moshav, the Solomon Brothers, the Nissim Blacks of the world.
Where does Matisyahu fit in?
That's another discussion.
Okay.
Where does he fit in? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is he secular or is he?
He's coming back to his roots.
Yes. Oh, because he was Choser B'Tshuva.
He's had a journey.
Yes.
He's had a journey.
Okay.
He has a place for sure, and he has a fan base. So anybody that commands a fan base, that has a fan base, has a responsibility to connect with them. And if whatever messages that they're trying to convey, that's because it's the fans that sustain any artist.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry, interrupting.
No,
you.
please. It's not an interruption. We got to lay the groundwork.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I see a lot of musicians, particularly in the beginning of this war, that musicians would go to army bases, and I think that's a huge thing. I think it's so important. It empowers. If I don't know if you've ever gone when a band or a musician or a DJ has gone to these army bases, but for these guys in the army, the ability to give them energy and just let them dance and just have a great time and whatever it is so empowering, so rejuvenating from their long, hard day, whatever it was. There's a stress we cannot possibly imagine that they have to go through, that they might not be here tomorrow, you know? And so the musician's job is to show them, an audience, a great time. Okay? They came to see you, and even if they just happen to be on the bass and you're the band, the entertainer, and they don't even know you, show them a great time. That's your job when you do the Army bases. When people pay for tickets, they're paying to see what you do. And you have a responsibility to give them the best possible show you can give. The philosophy is ingrained in me. There was a show that Lenny and I did in Cincinnati. It was wintertime, and I was sick. I had 103, 104. Lenny, I don't know that I can do this. Dude, don't know. You'll figure it out. And I took like a co-Tylenol just to bring the fever down. And I killed it. Just mustered everything I possibly could, ran around on stage. I didn't jump into the audience like I would because I'm sick, you don't want to do that, but put on a great show. And I did. And right after the show, I packed up, Lenny, I got to go to sleep. And I went to sleep, maybe a day or two, I got better, fine, and now I'm ready to rock full force. I always pushed myself to put on the best show possible. It is a mantra that you hear from almost every rock musician ever, because once you understand that you are there for the audience, you do whatever you have to do to put on a great show. Right. I will not do drugs to enhance my performance. I will not do cocaine or Red Bull or any of that shit. I'll drink a cup of tea before just to loosen everything up. And I will throw down with my own natural thing. I get that some people need a little pick-me-up, whatever. I have a lot of musician friends, a little weed, a little to take the edge off. Sure, no problem. For me personally, not a judgment. This is what works for me.
Yep.
I want to be with my full senses, everything, because the stuff that I do is split-second decisions, whether it's jumping on a speaker or jumping into an audience or, dancing around. I got to be aware of wires. If one thing is off, it could be problematic.
One of the reasons I asked you about the musicians, the change in the music industry during the war, is because I was actually more focused on what's going on in Chutz La'aretz than going on here. And I feel like I've heard from a lot of the guests that I've had that there's an issue in North America now, obviously with the pro-Palestinian rallies and everything like that there's a very quiet Jewish voice. There's not a loud enough Jewish narrative. And I'm wondering why the Jewish musicians are not more aggressive during this time.
I would counter that question with why do you need them to be more aggressive?
I think people, especially when we were growing up, or maybe the generation before, everyone had a Rav, like that they would ask a Shaila, or that they would get inspiration from, or when you would go to shul, he would give encouragement or some kind of, uplifting message, and people would follow, people would listen. That's where they got their solace from. I feel like that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, the interaction now between us and celebrities, it's just a different world. You and I receive information now very differently than we did back then. So you needed someone to present you with information then, to inspire, to uplift, or whatever. Now, it could be anybody doing a podcast, doing short little videos that can inspire people around the world from the comforts of their own room, their own apartment. Everybody can do it. Everybody is a rock star now. Everybody has the ability to spread their message, or just a thought that they had a great experience. Share that. A thought of, for me, it's drowning. All this pro-Palestinian, pro-Israel Jew, the whole thing, all the back and forth, it's drowning. I cannot process it all. I can't process it all. So it all gets lost in the ether. Now that everybody has a microphone, there's a million things to choose from. Back in the day, you went to a show or you heard the rabbi speak or whatever it was, and they had the message, and Rabbi so-and-so said this. That was very, very good what he said. Did you hear that? Right? Now, it could be anybody. It could be the guy down the block who says something that motivates you. In the music...
Wait, so Rabbanim are obsolete now?
What do you say?
Rabbanim are obsolete now?
I think Rabbanim have a much bigger platform than ever before. But I'm not sure they all know how to use it because the internet is evil. But the ability to learn Torah now from so many people is, I can learn. I do a Daf Yomi every day with Eli Stefanski, boom, because he's clean cut and a thing, and he's the whole thing, right? That's my jam. And the crew, the guys that go and are a part of it, great, Daf Yomi. Never in a million years would I ever have, if you had asked me at any time before 2 years ago, you ever going to learn Gemara again? I will never learn Gemara again. Not my jam. It has a bad taste in my mouth from the past, and my brain doesn't work in Gemara. They can't focus. It's ADD, and they ask a question, but it never fully gets answered, and in the end, it's probably a dispute between him and him. So, halacha, maybe. Okay, some of those halachas are a little down the rabbit hole that you're really nitpicking, but fine. I understand the desire to just try and get it right.
Move your mic up a little to your face.
What's it? I'm here.
Yeah, you're good?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, no, you're okay. It was just like you were like on the side here.
And this device, now I do Shnaya Mikra. I didn't even know what it was up until, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, right before Bereishit. All on my phone, everything. The Daf Yomi, the Shiurim, your boy Hillel Fuld sends out a little Devar Torah each week. Any human being now can put out nice words of Torah, something that can be inspirational. So we don't need musicians to tell us or inspire us. Could they? To a mass audience? Sure. But you get a regular person that builds a fan base because their thoughts resonate, then that person can be the rock star. Rock stars, and I know a lot of rock stars, wonderful people. They probably, many should just keep, you don't need to say anything. It's okay. Stick to what you're great at. It's great. In my circles of rock musicians, my broader of the secular rock musicians, many of them don't say anything, whatever they feel. They don't say anything on either side. They don't pick sides because their careers hinge upon neutrality. Because if a band is going to hire them, that band doesn't want to have someone that is outspoken on one side or the other. With the band, you just want to go do the tour, play your music, be awesome at it, and great. And that's what really music should be, neutral. When you go to a concert, in general, my opinion is that when I go to a concert, I don't want to hear politics. If you have a political song, fine. In the 80s, we had plenty of, political songs, but they were good songs.
Yeah, Scorpions.
Yeah, it's great, right?
Do you like Scorpions?
Genesis, I do.
Oh, me too.
I do. But I didn't even know Wind of Change was a political song. How do I know? I didn't know U2's Sunday Bloody Sunday or Pride were political songs. They were just great songs.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, and then you find out Sunday Bloody Sunday was some Irish something or other. Who knew? Okay.
Tell me about Rock for Israel. What's been going on with that? Has there tell me how it started, tell me how it's going.
So going back to the musicians that I'm talking about, living in LA, you meet a lot of super, super talented musicians, many of whom are on tour with some of the biggest rock bands in the world. And I used to go to these jams and these hangs and these bars and cigar nights and everything like that with these guys. And I'm the token yarmulke guy, right? So anything that happens...
You always wore a yarmulke?
Yeah. I always wore a yarmulke because going back to Shepherd Pratt, to the mental place, all the girls loved it. Like, oh my God, look at the cute little Jewish boy.
Okay.
Really, that's what it was. And I wore my yarmulke because it was not defiance, it just differentiated me from the rest of the world. And in my circles in Jewish, I always had yarmulkes that were cool, tailored to me. Well, if you could put your name on it, or your sports team, you can also put your favorite band on it. Or you could put, Rocky Horror. I loved Rocky Horror Picture Show. Just put Rocky Horror on the yarmulke. You do, whatever your creative mind tells you, and that's what it was. So, yes, I always wore a yarmulke. In my young adult years, I had a friend, a rabbi, once say to me, you probably shouldn't be anywhere that you have to take your yarmulke off for. That's interesting. So I made it so I wore my yarmulke everywhere. I've gone to places where many people would take their yarmulkes off for. But I learned how to navigate many of those environments and represent. I went to a disco in LA. It was like Studio 54. And I had my big glasses and my polyester and everything. And it wasn't like a costume place. It was very much like Studio 54. Glamour and model and celebrities. And you couldn't take pictures in there and that kind of thing. But the music was so great. It was so great. And I went to dance and I had a friend and he and I were like the dynamic duo. And he's totally not religious. And we would have every Saturday night. It was just the greatest. And I met people from all walks of life, and they would see me dancing with my yarmulke, And they would say to me on a Saturday night, they would say, "Oh, Shabbat Shalom." I would say, "Bro, it's Shavua Tov, but I'll take it all. No problem." You give them a hug and moves on. And that's great. And it gave people a connection to, they may not do any of that, but somewhere in the back of their mind, they connect. So I'm the token yarmulke Jew. So whenever anything happened in Israel or whatever, they would say something to the effect of, why don't you just give the land back? Or why questions? Because what they're seeing on the news or whatever may or may not be accurate. And I said, guys, one day I'm going to figure out a way to get you there. One day I'm going to figure out a way. And when Avi Lieberman and I, Comedy for Kobe, I saw his success in bringing, but I saw more the result, the end result after the fact. When I would meet some of these comedians, "Hey, I heard you went to Israel." "Oh my God, I had the greatest time." Or they'd be on interviews when they would do an interview. "Oh, we just came back from Israel. It was fantastic. I'd never seen anything like that. We saw Arabs and Jews in a mall just hanging out together, and they're working." And "What? You mean apartheid? Of course it's apartheid." No, dude, I'm telling you. Dude, well, you didn't go to the right areas. No, I'm pretty sure they took us to some of these areas that kind of thing. So because I knew so many musicians, I realized if I could figure out how to get them there. So I started Rock for Israel's 501c3 nonprofit, and the mission was not to take the big band, not to bring...
What year was this?
2018, 2019,
Okay.
right around there, right before COVID, like
Okay.
a couple years before COVID. And I got it all registered, 501c3, started raising money. I hate fundraising. I hate it. I have to do it, but I hate it. And so I'm not bringing the Scorpions. I'm not bringing the band, but I would bring the guitar player from the Scorpions and the bass player from that band and the drummer from that band as individuals, 4 or 5 individuals that play, that have resumes, that are solid musicians, put them together like a super group, bring them here to Israel, where the concert is almost ancillary to taking them around the country and showing them. And they'll do a concert in Jerusalem, a Tel Aviv, maybe a Herzliya, something like that. It doesn't have to be huge venues.
Yeah.
300, 500, 2,000, whatever, the Barbie, pick a play. Wherever they can play and play cover songs. The great rock and roll that we love. The Scorpions, the AC/DC, the Journey, the Bad Company, all that stuff. The Green Day. Go down the list. I have a whole lists of songs, of music, of bands that I want to tap into.
So how many artists came?
None.
It never worked. You didn't even bring any?
No.
Because of COVID?
COVID killed it. We were supposed to have an August 2020 tour. COVID killed it. Right in its tracks.
Okay, so now we have the war.
There
Will they
you
not
go.
come back?
They'll come. Guys will come. For sure they'll come. Some have held off. We just want to wait for things to die. Okay. But there are enough that would come now. And I just have to raise like another...
You got to do it.
Another 10, 15.
You have to do it.
Okay. And the whole point was to keep costs low so you don't have to deal with production companies or managers or anything like that. Just come. Did you ever go on a summer trip to Israel back in the day?
Yeah.
What did you go on?
Well, I came here with my family a bunch of times. I was supposed
Not
to...
that. I don't want family.
No, I was supposed to come on Machach Ba'aretz, but I got really sick. I had cancer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You survived?
No.
Really?
I'm dead. No.
Right.
No, I survived.
Good for you.
Yeah, I
Good for
survived.
you.
Yeah, so that was the hardest. But did I come here ever once without my family? I came in Michlala, and that was it.
Okay, fine. And you came here, did you know anybody at Michlala at the time?
Yeah, I came with a bunch of my Beis Yaakov friends.
And did you had your little crew of friends?
Yeah.
And did you guys build memories together?
A lot.
And have you remained friends?
Yes.
And do you feel that the relationship you have with them is unique to maybe other relationships you have with other people?
For sure.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to build. That's what I want for these musicians. I want to give them, they may not know each other. They may not have ever played with each other. But I want them to, like a summer tour that I went on, that it's a different kind of bond. When you come to Israel, there is a magic where you connect in a way that you can't really describe. It's a bond. They may not be the best friends afterwards, but they're going to share a unique experience that's unique to them. And that's what I want. That's what I want. I want it to be organic. I want it to be authentic. Instead of the penthouse at a Tel Aviv hotel on the beach, I want it to be a nice Airbnb that when you walk out onto the street, there's women pushing their children and men going to work. That it's life. That the people of Israel, all of them, the Arabs, the Christians, the Jews.
A real authentic experience.
Authentic. That's right. That's right. That's right.
You should. I hope that it goes through.
I know.
My final question.
Please.
After all these years, you've made Aliyah. Well, you've moved to Israel.
I moved to Israel.
You moved
Yeah,
to Israel.
right
What
before
was
Rosh
the
Hashanah.
catalyst for moving here?
Because all 4 of my kids were here.
All your kids have made Aliyah?
They've all come here and are here. So we live in LA. LA was great. And my son, during COVID, really didn't like sitting at home, being on a computer screen. And I was smart enough to say, guys, we could do school anywhere. Throw them in the van. Let's drive. And I've taken my kids to all 50 U.S. states. We've driven all over the country.
Wow.
And during that period, my son said to me, what do you think about me going to high school in Israel? And I said, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. Just find a program that your mom and I would be cool with, that, you know, fits kind of where we're holding. And he did. He came up with a program called Na'aleh. Na'aleh is it's funded by Ministry of Education. They have a bunch of schools under their umbrella. And I said, oh, this looks great, and cost and no cost, and you know, they take care of everything, and you're in a school and you're living in a dorm. Great. We said, listen, why don't you do 9th grade in Eula, in the high school in LA, and if you still want to go to Israel, you got it. And he did. And so we sent him here in 10th grade. Then in 11th grade, he stayed. My oldest daughter came for her year in Israel, 2 kids in Israel. Then, at that same period of time, my second daughter graduated high school 2 years early because she didn't hate it, but high school wasn't her thing, and she wanted to get on with life. And so we said, you got to take college classes, credits, all that stuff. You got to work. We're not letting you stay home, and it's not how it's going to work. And you could figure it out. And she did just that. She got a diploma, legit. She did credits, college, online, offline, the whole thing. She worked her ass off, and she got it done. And then she says, I want to go to Mechina in Israel, and I want to join the army.
Oh, wow.
Okay, cool. My oldest daughter went to Stern. So now, so the one in Mechina then went to the army. The son, now in 12th grade, the oldest left Stern to do a nursing school program in Jerusalem. She's here. And then my youngest got accepted to the Na'aleh program for 10th grade.
Okay.
So she's going to, all 4 kids are here. So my wife says, well, dude, why don't you just go? You got to be there for the kids. Set up shop, and, you know, I'll get there when I get there. I said, great. So I'm here in Israel doing all the stuff that I do, which I can pretty much do anywhere in the world. My kids are here, and my wife's not, which is fine. You know, 23 years, you know, it's good.
There are a lot of successful marriages of couples not living together.
Of course, 100%. And
Yeah.
both of us, both she and I, are very independent people. So all those discos and all my nights out and everything in LA, she never, not once, ever went out with me. It was a bar mitzvah, a family, friends, something like that. But the music and the clubs and all that, that was all me.
Really?
It was, yeah, not her jam.
Oh,
not her
wow.
jam at all. She did that. She grew up very different than you and I. Very different. So all those clubs and parties and all that, she did during her teenage years.
Yeah.
You know, but next gen stuff. You and I we had fun back in the day. She lived all over the world. So she had the world.
How was Israel for you?
Israel's always been great.
But living here is different.
I don't know that it is. I think.
Well, you think it's just the same amount of fun as coming to visit?
I think Israel's what you make of it.
Yeah.
I think Israel really takes, to really just enjoy and relax in Israel, you have to be able to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
Things happen.
change quickly.
Things change quickly,
Yeah.
and you have to adapt. If you're going to let everything weigh on you, and this didn't work out, and we planned to do this, and it didn't work out, and it's going to debilitate you or, you know, really bother you, it's going to be a little bit harder to appreciate the majesty of Israel. I mean, I'm going to give you an example, okay? I needed a car in Israel. I must have a vehicle that I can be free to go whenever I want. Originally, I made a reservation at Hertz so that, great rate, because the ticket that I had booked, the airline
To buy or to rent?
to rent.
Okay.
And I had rented it for 8 months, because the ticket that I got when I purchased, you have to pick a return date. And I picked like May 27th, which at the time was the furthest you could go out. And I just picked it, and if I need to change it, I'll change it down the line. So I rented the car for that amount of time, 8 months. A friend of mine says to me a month before I'm coming, he's like, dude, you know that the credit card insurance is only going to cover you for 30 days. Oh, shit, that's right. So now, instead of 1 8-month rental, I have to make 8 1-month rentals, which changes the cost incredibly. Okay, so I look into leasing a car in Israel. Now, in America, you can lease a car no problem. In Israel, it's not really a thing.
Yeah.
And you have to have an Israeli bank account. It's the whole thing. And I was going down the rabbit hole, and cost-wise, it was going to be as much and more as the rental. Not only with the rental was I going to have to deal with that insurance issue, but also they tack on a per day mandatory insurance something or other, which now makes the cost of this rental like $9,000, $10,000. And I still have to return the car at the end. So I look for leasing. Leasing doesn't work out. And it's not that it didn't work out, it's just not cost effective. So on a hunch, maybe this is just 3 weeks before I'm ready to move, I Google buying and leasing a car in Israel. The first thing that pops up is a Facebook group called Buying and Leasing Cars in Israel. And the first post from less than a day ago was from a friend of mine in Jerusalem selling his car. So I look up that car on Kelley Blue Book in America, what's it worth? And I see that the cost to buy it in America, same mileage, same everything, was more than what he was selling it for in Israel, right? Surprising, but the conversion, the shekel and all that, I'm getting, from my vantage point, a good deal because I'm paying for it in dollars, right? A decent deal. So I say to him, does the car work? He says, yeah, it's great. I said, why are you selling it? He goes, because my daughter doesn't want to drive a big car like this. She wants to drive a small little thing. She can't park and so on. I said, great, I'm in. Here you go. I started paying him. I said, listen, I need one favor. Can you meet me at the airport with the car? He said, sure, no problem. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And I have that car, and I put in a little money to it just to get it up to my specs. Car stereo, I brought one from America with Apple CarPlay, without the Android operating system. The one that was in there was all Android. I didn't want any of that in my car. And rock and roll, crank it up.
You know what? If I had a choice, I wouldn't have a phone at all.
You need to have a phone.
Yeah, but I don't really care what kind it is.
You should.
Why?
So one of my side gigs, my many things, my OCD, is I do Mac tech support. Anything made by Apple, I build, fix, rebuild, anything like that. I love Apple products. When I switched from Windows to Apple, it was like the heavens opened up and the Lord shone his countenance upon me. It was fantastic. It was just the way my brain worked. Okay. It was clean. Again, it looked good. It worked exactly how my brain worked, and I learned how to do tricks from just little issues. How do you do this? And I'd read, oh, that's how, wow, genius. Things like that. And I became the Apple guy. And people say, oh, Etan, you drank the Kool-Aid, or you're a slave because you live in the bubble. I said, listen, the bubble is so big that I believe that they're protecting me, that I'll give you an example here, and I'll tell you why. You ready? Listen.
Okay. Okay.
How does Apple make their money? Apple makes their money from hardware. Okay, that's how they make their money. Services and hardware. So their desire to get your information is less than, say, Google, whose whole business is on getting your information. Everything, Google Docs, everything, it's all there. It's privacy to a certain extent. It's easily found, and Apple cares less about your information. It's not that they don't get your information, they care less about it, so they don't need as much for them to function and survive as a company, whereas Google solely survives on it. Googles are ugly phones. They're ugly. The operating system, it's ugly. The graphics, it's just ugly. Everything works. The iPhone, beautiful. Are there some things that Android has that Apple doesn't? Yes, but for the most part, for almost every part that applies to me, iPhone, the OS, the Apple OS, magic.
Good. Well, good luck with it. Good
So
luck
if you
on your
need any-
relationship with Apple.
If you need any help converting, switching over to Apple, I would be happy.
Well, you're more than welcome to. My birthday's December 26th.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're considering what to buy me, maybe you can.
Would you go if I was able to get you a newer iPhone?
Yes, I would.
You would switch?
I would.
You'd switch to the other side?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not committed to the Android.
You hear that, guys? Let's go.
I'm not committed.
Go fund me. We're getting her an iPhone.
Anything that you want to promote at this time?
I think Rock for Israel is my biggest thing. It's now we have a war. Some of the guys, musicians, are more open to coming now. Some don't care, but that's my baby. It's fundraising is hard. The merch, the creative, the logistics, that's all my jam. So it's easy. I'll take care of all the guys, the musicians, to make sure. And the promotion here in Israel, come on out, see the show. I'm hoping in the next couple of years to open up a bar / live venue.
Yay.
It'll be great. I have a lot of great ideas for it,
Awesome.
and I'm going to do it differently.
Are you playing it all in Israel? Anywhere?
We did a Schlock Rock concert just a couple months ago in Beit Shemesh.
Yeah.
And right now Lenny's not well. He's getting better in rehab, fixing himself up. And then when he comes back out, we're hoping to do more shows, mostly at Modi'in, the Efrats,
Yeah,
those kinds of
totally.
things.
Let me know.
I'm
I'll
blown
lift our
away
sip for you.
how many people still love Schlock Rock. Oh my God, I grew up on you. Oh my God, I became observant because of you guys. All these things.
My dad had a Judaica store,
Mm-hmm.
so I was listening to Schlock Rock like on replay.
What was your favorite song you remember? Give me something. What do you remember? Just give me a song. What was your favorite or not?
I don't know. They had some catchy tunes back then. I don't remember what they were.
Okay. You
I
remember
don't
Yo-Yo
remember.
Yamaka?
Yes.
You remember We Got a Strong Desire?
Yes.
You remember My Menorah?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I don't remember the names of the song, but if I heard the
How about Minion Man?
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right, these are the
It
hits.
was great. It was great stuff.
So now it's all on your music service. You can listen.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
You know?
I will.
And so we're still doing it. I watched the show in Beit Shemesh. I watched back. I said, God, at my age, I still got it. I'm still.
You totally do. You really
I can
do.
still watch myself.
Look at me. Look at my face. I'm smiling, and I was in such a poor mood before you came, just because of the situation here.
That's my job.
And yeah, you
I don't
really
make
made
a lot
me
of
happy.
money, but I have a great time. And it's fun to hang out, and it's fun to put smiles on people's face. I don't really do it intentionally, but I think
You
that
have a gift.
life is too short. I have many friends that have either passed away or are unwell or just miserable. And life does not have to be that way. And yes, there are struggles. And yes, there's ups and downs. And yes, all of these things, you have to, there's an attitude, a resilience, an outlook that if you can put your faith in a higher power, in God, and understand that you can do it. You can get through this, you can adjust, you can adapt, whatever it is, nothing will be consuming or debilitating. And that's it. So when I go around and we hang out and we laugh and we smile and I share with you, I mean, really, this whole time I've been talking about myself, and it's ridiculous because there's so much I need. We're going to do another show where we're going to reverse it. I'll slap the G show on here and I'm going to interview you.
Yeah, you
Because
got it.
Everybody's got a story.
For sure.
And what gets me off is hearing those stories from people, because there's lots of questions. First of all, learning from other people. Like, I didn't know you had cancer. I didn't know you survived it. I want to hear that journey. Okay? That must have been insane, and I need to know it. So that's going to be a conversation.
Okay.
I want to hear about Toronto. I'm an American. I want to hear Toronto. How your life growing up was different than my life. You said you went to like Beis Yaakov schools.
I went to Nolpana, but my best friends, was like, we went to the elementary school, like a Haredi elementary school, and then they went to Beis Yaakov. There was an opportunity for high school to go to either a Beis Yaakov or to like a B'nai Akiva school, and I chose the B'nai Akiva school.
Okay. I want to hear more about that. I want to
Okay,
hear
yeah.
all this stuff. I
We
love
will.
people's journeys.
We will.
I love people's
We
journeys.
will. Etan G, thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming.
Dayna, this was great, my love.
Number one.
We're going to do it again soon.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a great day.
Guys, sorry for not looking at you, but I was so engaged over here that you're just a bystander. Here we
Dude,
go.
take a number.
It was about us. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Dayna Show. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to the podcast, like and share with your friends on social media, and rate us 5 stars. Don't forget to tune in next week, and we'll see you then.